Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our first Tech Tuesday of 2021. We decided to switch things up a little bit for the new year, and we're adding in these product demos that we're going to be doing every Tuesday throughout the year. And as we do some new things this year, you'll see some new product demos slide in. But today, we're going to walk through our Expedient Enterprise Cloud. Quick housekeeping note, though, if you have any questions, please enter them down below into the Q&A panel. That helps us keep track of all the questions and make sure that they get answered. Our VP of Pre-Sales Engineering, Rob McCafferty, is on to answer those questions in the Q&A panel, and he'll join me for a live Q&A session at the end. If you ask a question, you're entered to win a prize. That prize this week is a Bose SoundLink speaker. And all of this is being recorded, so if you have to step away, you want to show it to somebody else, this will be available on our website, go.expedient.com/webinar replays. It'll be on our YouTube page, youtube.com/expedient, and it'll be on our Instagram page, instagram.com/_expedient. For those of you who are new to Expedient, we were founded in 2001. We started as a co-location provider, moved into managed services, and now our cloud. We have cloud locations in the US East, Central, and West. Our West region just opened at the end of 2019, so they're a year old now. Congratulations to them. We have international cloud deployments on customer sites in Australia, Germany, and Canada. So if our cloud locations don't work, we can bring that cloud to you, and that applies domestically as well. We're a VMware cloud provider and have been since 2007. We have tens of thousands of virtual machines supporting over 1,000 customers on our platform. So whatever scale you have, we can meet that. Whether you have 2 VMs or 2,000 VMs, we can help you with that. And the reason we help a lot of customers with this is that we find that on-premises is a massive challenge. And it's not specifically because you have to fight the cable waterfall. It's more along the lines that the business wants to do more. But if we look at what the assets of on-premises technologies are, is that you have this existing skill set, right? This guy in this picture knows how to move some network cables around. He probably knows how to log into vCenter and go deploy a new virtual machine, or he knows the applications that are already existing, right? Those apps don't come along all that often, right? And when they do, there's still the deployment time. There's deploying getting the application up and running, getting users trained onto it. And then once users are trained onto it and it's an application that the business uses every day, it's now a critical part of the business. And changing that application requires something to be usually wrong with that app, or not scaling with the application, or maybe something came along that's better. Maybe that application's out of support for whatever reason. To actually get away from it is actually quite the uplift to move all the data from one app to another. And this doesn't really have anything to do with the infrastructure. And the problem is that the business wants that agility. They want to be able to move around and be able to meet customers where their customers actually are. They don't want to have to deal with where their customers actually come into or go out of. They want to be able to meet their customers and their needs. And those are big problems that exist in IT. They want to be able to have these things that meet, say, like a retail space. They have their holiday season. They want to be able to meet the needs of their business. But then in May, when the retail season's much, much lower, they don't want to be paying for the full holiday season. They want the agility to be able to move that. And that's driven because on-premises technologies are largely CapEx, right? You have to go buy that hardware. You have to put it in. You have to install it. You have to cable it. And you hold on to it for 3 to 4 years at a time. And that's a big, big problem. And then all of this is still manually driven. I have to watch my resources. I have to understand when I need more of them. And then when I need more, I go place a PO and buy more hardware and bring it in and have to manually cable everything. And I can't do anything terribly quickly. And because I can't bring things in quickly, I certainly can't get rid of them quickly either. So this is where businesses start to look at things like Hyperscale Cloud. But that doesn't really solve it either, right? This is one application. There's at least 10 different services in there. And that's a big, big uplift. It requires a completely new skill set from your staff to be able to support this, right? Even though there's a bunch of things from EC2 in there, it doesn't necessarily line up with what you have from an on-premises skill set, right? They're compute instances, so they're kind of like VMs, but they're not really like VMs because the availability behind them is different. So how do I design this to be as resilient as my on-premises applications based on the way that I know them to be, right? You could do different things, put load balancers in and, EBS and different buckets and database, RDS, database masters. You can do all those things, but it requires you to pick those up. And then there's the app refactoring that goes along with trying to make this application as resilient as it is. Your existing on-premises applications are built to run in a traditional operating system, utilizing hardware resiliency that's on the back end. When you take those to a hyperscale cloud, you can definitely put them in there, but it may not be the right fit. Because the problem is that the business really wants this agility and this elasticity. They want the ability to scale up and scale down as they need to. They want to pay for what they're using. The business doesn't care about the actual technology on the back, and they don't care about load balancing and all this other stuff. They don't really care. What they care about is that when I have more customers, I'm willing to pay more for my platform to be able to support the additional revenue that's coming in. And when I don't have customers coming in, I don't want to pay for the revenue or the technology stack because I don't have the business coming in, right? It's that scalability aspect. And the way that Hyperscale does this is they do it with monthly OpEx, right? You pay per month for what you're actually using. And because you can do this with APIs, you can actually automate all of that scaling. Your load balancer says, hey, you're running out of space. You need more. You can scale out additional instances to support that. But there has to be something in the middle here. There has to be something that fits both sides of this, right? For my on-premises side, I'd really like to have the existing skill set and same applications, but the agility and the monthly OpEx and the APIs of a hyperscale cloud. And that's what our enterprise cloud is. This allows us to take both my existing skill set and my applications and mix them with the benefits of a hyperscale cloud to give you the best of both worlds. But let's dive into the demo. That's what we're here for, right? This is Tech Tuesday. So let's actually get into the technology. We're going to jump through how to log in, some role-based access control. We'll deploy a VM, and then we'll go through some additional features of our cloud. So let's get into the demo. So we start here with our main login page. When I go and I log in, I'll type in my password. We have two-factor authentication on the front end, so I will get the notification and hit here, and it will approve that two-factor auth. And we will log in and be into our main space. So I have our 701 data center and our ACM data center. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into our administration page. And you'll see that we have a bunch of various users in here. We have SAML authentication, so you can bring your existing Active Directory to our cloud so you can maintain that exact same lifecycle for your accounts that you do with your on-premises technologies. You don't have to go create a bunch of accounts and add another lifecycle that's not attached to the rest of your lifecycle. You can use AD groups in here as well. So you can have all of these accounts and apply roles to them. Speaking of roles, you can go and create your own custom roles. So these roles are, these are the ones that are out of the box. You can also create your own. That restricted test one is actually one that we created. But if I go in and I create a new role, I can see I have the ability to create read-only roles. Maybe I want to give my help desk read-only rights into here so they can see what's going on, but they can't accidentally click something, delete a VM, so on and so forth. Or maybe I do want to give my operations team some additional rights, like being able to edit CPU, hard disk, memory, and networking, but I don't want to give them the rights to delete a VM, right? I have the ability to get very granular with those roles and with those permissions. So next, we're going to actually go into our libraries. This is actually a really cool function. When you're using a hyperscale cloud, they have a bunch of things, like Amazon has their AMIs, Azure has their ARM templates, Azure Resource Manager templates. These are VApp templates. These are OVA files that you can bring in. So that AJK LAMP and AJK WP, those are Bitnami images that I downloaded from Bitnami and put them in there myself. If you have an existing Windows, Red Hat, Ubuntu, whatever template that you like on-prem, you can export that as an OVA file and import it into here and use that exact same template. That saves you a ton of time in trying to harden your image or do your baseline configuration. You don't have to do that over again. You can just bring the one that you're already using. We also provide a number of Windows VMs, or a number of Windows templates, excuse me. So 2012 R2, 2016, 2019, those are all templates that you can use. The templates themselves are free of charge. You just pay for the usage of the resources. We also have a concept called data center groups. And in our data center groups, we have the ability to link two data centers together. This is actually really helpful for when we do our disaster recovery as a service. So we have ACM and 701 linked together, and I can change their egress points, and I can share IP ranges across those data centers so that I don't have to fight about, you know, that this is the IP range in this data center and this is the IP range in that data center, and try to figure out how to re-IP my things as they go across. I can stretch layer 2 across them, and I can have the same IP range in both places, and then have the ability to fail those over without having to change any IPs. It makes disaster recovery super, super simple. So there's our stretch networks. So if we go back into our libraries, we're going to go down to our HAKWP, and I'm going to click on Create vApp. And in here, this is how I can use this template to go deploy a virtual machine. So I'm going to give this a name. And I'm going to change my runtime lease to never expire. Even though there's a couple of other options in there, you can actually set things up to only run temporarily. Let's say you want to run a QA environment for testing and you only want to spin up those resources for 12 hours, you can automatically do that. I'm going to set this to never expire for the purpose of this demo. And in here, I can pick my data center. So I don't have to go into the data center or be in that region. I can just pick it from one single place, and it'll deploy to whatever data center I tell it to go to. So I'm going to send it to my ACM data center. We're going to use this image, and it's going to go onto the vSAN storage that backs our enterprise cloud. Now I can configure my networking. This is very similar to the way that you configure networking in your data center today. You go in, you pick whatever network you want to be on. I'm going to pick our SA demo environment. You have the ability to pick DHCP. You also have IP pool and static assignment, so you can pick how you want your IP address to land. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to pick DHCP. A lot of our customers end up using IP pool because it gives you the ability to hand out IPs with DHCP, but not have to set up a full DHCP infrastructure. And in here, we're customizing the hardware. This is, again, very much like your on-prem environment where you pick your number of CPUs, number of sockets, amount of RAM, amount of hard disk, but we don't have t-shirt sizes. We don't set you into 1 and 2, 2 and 4, 4 and 8. You can pick 2 and 8, 2 and 16, 4 and 16. You could pick however you'd like this to be. I can pick the amount of RAM that I would like to set, and I don't have to match it to the number of cores or the number of sockets that I have. I'm going to pick 2 gigs. This is a little tiny web server VM, so it's not that big of a deal. And you can change your hard disk size as well. So I'm going to make this 15 gigs. You can make this 150 gigs. It's up to you. They're your resources. So we'll send that on its way and get that, that build going. While we're doing that, we're going to jump into our data centers here in my ACM data center, and I can see my VM list, right? This is the same type of VM list that you have in your existing vCenter today. This takes that learning curve for the cloud and almost flattens it. It allows you to ramp right onto our cloud with the same skill set that you already have, but you're gaining all of the additional agility from the resource pools that back this platform. So in here in our networks, I have a number of different networks, right? I have our cross VDC networks. Those are our stretch layer 2 that go across our 2 data centers. But I also have the ability to route networks specifically out of one data center, or I can do things like isolate a network for things like SQL Server clusters, right? You can run SQL Server clusters on here. It's not that big of a deal. If you want to run these, the isolated network is how you can do the like virtual crossover cable. So there's a couple different ways to do that. You can also use that for quarantining. We also have our network edge. So we have NSX in the platform. It comes with the platform. You don't have to pay extra for it. This isn't some extra feature that, you know, that you want but isn't included. It's all part of the platform. So inside of the edge, I can configure a number of different services. we can configure things like our external firewalls. So this is where we, as Expedient, can help you manage this. So we have our Cohesity, our cloud data protection platform. We have a firewall rule set up to allow the Cohesity traffic to come in to pick up the data and back your data up. But we also have the ability to have high availability, external web traffic, and you can do some of that from the edge. We also offer a number of additional firewall services. We have DHCP, so you can actually set up a DHCP infrastructure in this platform. But if you're bringing something in, like you have Infoblox or BlueCat, one of those types of tools, you can bring that infrastructure in and configure a DHCP relay to actually connect this back and forth, kind of like an IP helper on your network. We also offer layer 4 load balancing inside of the edge gateway that's included. So if you have something that you want to put a load balancer, a local load balancer in front of, you can do that. We also offer layer 7 load balancer services on top of that. So you can do more global state load balancing in that sort of vein. But if we go back to my VApps, I can see that my VApp is now deployed. And I'm going to go power that on. And inside of this, I have my virtual machine, and I can see that my virtual machine is powered on. And when I click on the 3 dots, I can actually see all of the same things that I would see in my on-premises vCenter, right? Power on, power off, suspend, install VMware tools, take a snapshot, create a clone. You have access to do all this. You don't have to call us to create clones. You don't have to call us to take snapshots for you. You can do all of this yourself. But the actual nice part here is that there's still a managed service on the back of this. So if you need help with something, you can call someone and get someone on the phone to help walk you through this, to help figure out what's going on that isn't quite working the way you expect it to, or isn't working the way you would like it to. And we can help you figure out what's going on there. So I'm going to open the web console here, and I'm going to wait for this to do its own little boot process. And now I've come up to, and I can see that it has an address of 97.105. So let's go ahead and we'll open that up. And I can see that my WordPress page has loaded. But if we go back, one of the things that happens is people like to monitor their platforms. And what we've included is the vRealize Operations Manager. So we actually have VROPs built into the platform. Again, this is included. This isn't an add-on. This isn't an extra feature. This is native monitoring that's built into the platform. So I can go to my organization overview and see all of my virtual machines across my virtual data centers and see how much of my capacity that I'm using. I can see my CPU memory and storage. I can see how many virtual machines and VApps are running. And I can even dive deeper into that and see my VApps, like this Ubuntu One VM that I deployed a couple weeks ago. And I can look into this individual virtual machine and see its CPU usage, its memory usage, its storage usage, and get down even deeper. And that metrics selector that you see, I can get even deeper into the deeper metrics that are available to us, like CPU ready time, packet loss, packet drop, those sorts of things, to actually really dive deep and troubleshoot any issues that we're having in the environment. But I've deployed a web server, and I don't know about you guys, but when I deploy a web server in my life, people have security questions about that. So if we dive into the security aspect, we have the distributed firewall from NSX as well. So if I go into the security services, I can see that I have a full distributed firewall. This is microsegmentation built into the platform. You can configure this yourself. You can also ask us to help you configure it. But when we're building these, this is a way for you to get deeper security features that would be probably very expensive for you to deploy on premises, but get them natively in our cloud platform. So you'll see here, I have 4 rules. I have a web server security group. So the web server that I have, we're going to go ahead and put that into this group. So I'm going to go tag that now, and we'll edit this web server tag. We'll go type that in, and we'll move that in. And now when I come back to my distributed firewall, this VM that I have, if I ping this, I can see that it's not pinging. And that's fine. And the reason it's not pinging is that rule number 2 is that I'm blocking ping. I'm doing that on purpose. But what I can do is I can take block ping and move it down, and we'll go ahead and save those changes. And now when I bring my ping up, After the firewall rule applies to the host, my ping starts to work again. So I have this, easy capability to move firewall rules in and out without having to go in and configure it in a completely separate place. It's all native to our cloud platform. So I've provided all of the security, I've provided all my resources, and I'm able to bring in the existing technologies and skill sets that we already have on-prem so you can get your cloud rolling even faster. So that is our cloud. It's built on top of enterprise class hardware with enterprise class support. We are able to build things, and we're able to build our platform to meet the scale of our customers. Our average pod size has about 37 terabytes of RAM and almost 2 petabytes of disk. So whatever it is that you need, we can build that and support that. All of the storage is all flash. We don't tier that out. We don't have like a spinning disk and an all flash disk. It is all flash, so you get full performance out of the gate. Everything is integrated into the portal that you just saw. And our cost is all based on these resource pools. So we sit down with you to figure out how many resources you actually need and build a resource pool so that you have a consistent and predictable cost every month. And speaking of those costs and its predictability, we don't have any egress fees either. So as you're building this and you're looking at your cloud and you're thinking about how do I move my VMs out, one of the biggest challenges that people run into is that they don't understand where their VMs are talking or how their VMs talk. And so this allows you to move out to a cloud without having to worry about the giant fee at the end of the month because you didn't realize that this VM talked to this VM, but they're not in the same data center. We can scale and meet the needs of your end users and even your security regimes. All of this is encrypted at rest. We have HIPAA, high trust, PCI DSS, SOC 1, SOC 2, and even additional things we build around NIST 853 to make sure that we meet your compliance needs and also our own compliance needs, because we believe that the security and compliance of our platform is of the utmost importance. We have 12 data centers across the country, and we're able to provide the best fit for your applications. We also offer cloud on-ramps so that when you want to use hyperscale platforms like Amazon's Lambda service, maybe Google BigQuery or Azure Data Lakes, we have direct connectivity, high-speed connectivity to those, so you can then use this as your jumping off point to a hyperscale platform. So when is Enterprise Cloud the best fit? If it existed 2 years ago, if it's in your data center today, really, it's a really great fit for Enterprise Cloud. But specifically, if application refactoring is going to be very, very expensive, that's where the value proposition really hits. If your application brings in $10,000 in revenue and it costs $100,000 to refresh, that's a challenge. Or if you have any integration with physical systems, we're still a colo space, so we can bring your physical gear in and directly connect it so that you don't have to figure out point of presence and all that other stuff. So thank you for joining us today. Actually, not next week, but join us on Thursday. We're going to be speaking with Michael Spalding. He's Director of IT Operations and Security for Bob Evans Farms. So we're actually going to talk to them about how they moved to Expedient Enterprise Cloud and what benefits that drove for them. And if you want to get your hands on this and go through the demo just like I did, you can schedule a test drive. You can reach out to me at aj.kuftic@expedient.com, or you can go to expedient.com/vmware-test-drive and sign up for a 30-day trial. You get 128 gigs of RAM, a terabyte of storage, and full access to the environment so you can do what I just did and really kick the tires for yourself. And with that, I will open it up for questions. Rob, I see you've been answering a couple. You've been answering a couple questions in here.
Yeah, there's been a handful of different topics. So we'll just kick it off here. The first question was around multi-factor authentication options are available for admins. So I think as AJ showed in the demo, the management interface of the platform itself is multi-factored. And then we also offer multi-factor solutions for your end users as well, right? So if you want to put multi-factor at the VM level to log into the OS, or at the application level, we have solutions for that as well.
Yeah, and this, we have our one login platform now. So we have the ability to do single sign-on across not just our enterprise cloud, but a bunch of other solutions that we have, including our cloud native platform. So that is something that you would also be able to take advantage of as well from a multi-factor standpoint. Does this support the configuration of VPN endpoints? We have a VPN service that we offer that is scalable. In fact, we had a lot of customers at the start of the pandemic ramp up their VPN service with us. We can scale it, make it highly available. But that's a way that we can build VPN endpoints. We can also do direct circuits from your data center or your main offices into our data center to make that connection that much simpler.
There was a question around, is this a single tenant platform, a multi-tenant platform? How would we engage with different clients or even, VARs or other MSPs? So it's a large multi-tenant platform. We have the ability to kind of carve off pools of resources for different types of clients, whether that's for your own use or if you're an MSP looking to offer cloud services, we can carve you off a single pool of resources that you can then multi-tenant to your clients and still have manageability. So it's pretty flexible in how we can configure the pools of resources, as well as pretty flexible in how we can accommodate different types of security requirements within those pools or software licensing within those pools if they're based on CPU count or core count or those types of things. So really flexible, all kind of under the covers of that really great management interface that AJ showed. But we have a lot of flexibility underneath that.
We have a question here around direct connections to Azure, AWS, and Google, et cetera. Yes, we are part of the Equinix Cloud Interchange, I believe, Rob, that's the name of it, the Cloud Fabric. I forget the specific name, but we are part of the overall Equinix Cloud Fabric. So we have our direct connections to in Ashburn, San Jose, and Chicago. So we have the ability to provide you with you can utilize our connections to get to those clouds. You can also connect your own if you want to do your own VPN tunnel out of our data centers and into those places. You can do that as well. We see a lot of customers that like to utilize ours because it's just easier for them.
Question about why Expedient over something like Azure, and I think generally, and I think AJ mentioned it in the demo, we don't always think that every workload should be on Expedient. Our goal is to help you find the right place for your workload. A lot of workloads in public cloud, especially those that have been lifted and shifted, just migrating a VM out to Azure, you're generally probably not going to get the performance that you'd expect. You're definitely not going to get the cost reduction that you expect just by lifting and shifting. So being able to provide that insight into how different cloud platforms operate and help you make a good decision is something that we do very well. Additionally, all of our platforms come with an SLA as well as a managed service around them. So we are monitoring, we are alerting, we are taking action if something happens in the middle of the night. We are working with you from an implementation and migration perspective. We're not just giving you a website to log into and wishing you the best of luck like some of the other cloud providers do. So it's a white glove service with people behind it. And that's generally the main reason why clients choose Expedient.
We have a question around, do we manage circuits and items like that? We can help you get them installed. A lot of times our customers, in fact, Rob, we do actually have a number of partnerships with circuit providers.
Yep.
We can help you get those set up. So as part of that process, if you're coming in, we can help you put those circuits into our data centers, or you can bring your own circuits and just have that run into our data centers as well if you have an existing carrier that you happen to like.
Yeah, in most of our data centers, all of the carriers that you can think of are probably already have a point of presence there, so we can provide a cross connect pretty easily.
How is software licensing handled? That's up to you, honestly. When it comes to the VMware licensing or the Windows licensing, we can offer that as part of, in fact, we do offer that as part of our per VM cost. But when we look at how you're licensing your software inside of those operating systems, whether that's, Oracle, SQL Server, whatever. That's a question. That's a conversation we have to have with pretty much every customer. Usually because they have, SQL licensing and Oracle licensing. Some, specific off-the-shelf pieces of software may have, very specific licensing needs. So we can actually sit down with you and come up with the right solution, because it's not just, hey, take your stuff and put it into a VM and hope for the best. We can actually build it to meet your software licensing needs as well. We've done that for a number of customers. In fact, Bob Evans Foods actually did a whole thing. We'll talk about that on Thursday. But there's a number of things that they did around their build and how we made sure that the solution matched what they needed, not just that we made their licensing match whatever we had off the shelf. Is there a pricing tool? Yes, you can go to expedient.com right now, and there's in the top right corner, there is a pricing calculator. So you can click on that. You can start to spitball pricing. And then we can dive a little bit further into what it is that you actually need from a solution standpoint: backups, DR, cloud connectivity. We have a number of other services around security, antivirus, firewalls, other things that are coming. We're constantly growing, we're constantly changing. So we're really happy to always sit down with you and talk through what it is that you need and how we can help you. Rob, I think that is that's the last of the questions there. There's one more in there, Rob, if you want to answer that.
Yeah, real briefly, I put the link to that cloud calculator in the chat so everybody would have access to it.
I'll answer it then. Is lower cost migration a value prop for SMB, or is EEC out of reach for SMBs? No, we are absolutely well in reach for SMBs. We have customers who have like 2 or 3 VMs. This is one of the big reasons why we pushed for EEC and why we built EEC, was the ability to scale from 2 VMs to 2,000 VMs. If you just have a couple, that's okay too. We want to be able to help you and support you and have our managed services meet the needs of your business. We don't want to, cut SMB or small businesses out because they just can't scale the way that we think they should. We help in completely lost all of my words. We want to help all businesses of all sizes. And the last question here: what type of firewall VPN client do we offer? We have Pulse Secure VPN. We can provide that to more than just your customer base. We can provide that to your external users as well if they need it. So that's our firewall and VPN client. We have NSX for our firewall. We have Juniper VSRX for our bigger firewall services, and then Pulse VPN that goes around that. The winner of the prize is Edward Ho. So congratulations to Edward Ho. Karen will be reaching out to you shortly. And with that, we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you for joining us. We'll be here next Tuesday. We're going to do another demo. We're going to keep doing these Tech Tuesdays. Thank you for joining us.